I don't have anything, but I'm streaming.
Was it?
I'm streaming, just so you
Oh,
know. But I don't have
I
anything
was
to drink.
I was going to ask you something first, but that's okay.
Do you want me to?
No, because it would just delay us.
How do I? I don't even. Again, I don't know how to share. Like Google just doesn't know how to make anything usable. There it is.
I'm gonna try to pull up this too. Doo-doo-doo. Am I able to log into YouTube as us? No, 'cause there's not a separate login. It's just
Yeah, there is.
you're linked. Oh, is it where I could normally find it?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you think it'll let us be both in at the same time or only one?
should be fine.
I don't want to cancel your stream though. You think it'll complicate it?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, let me try.
Okay. You probably just got the buzz for the tweet.
Yep. Everything on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. All right.
If you guys are watching the stream right now, we are just getting set up here. Give us 1 second.
You sound wonderful.
Okay.
And you let me know when you want to do the old clap.
Yep. I'm just logging in. Oh, this device isn't recognized. You want to? I'm texting you a code.
I don't know what that is.
You get the code?
Yeah, I got the code.
Yeah, send it to me or read it to me. One of the two.
Oh, I see.
Thank you.
There you go. I got it now. Hey, Peter. How's it going? Peter Bug. Alec Bug.
Oh, you know what? We didn't even got to talk about setlist game finals.
We
too.
do. That's got to go in there, too. There's the Google security alert. I'm going to reject this sign-in. Who signed in? Who did this?
All right, clicking this. It says live now. I'm clicking that.
You want to do 1, 2, 3 clap?
Yep, just
Make sure
muting
you
this.
start your recording before we do that on QuickTime.
Yes, right.
Tell me when you're ready to record it.
Yep, I just got to find QuickTime. Here it is. All right.
I'm recording.
QuickTime.
We're going to do a 1, 2, 3, then clap.
Okay, hit record. The numbers are counting, so that's good. So I think
Ready?
I think we're good. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, clap.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Did you mess it up on purpose?
No, it wasn't messed up, was it? Did I need to be quiet after the clap?
We're going to do at the same cadence. 1, 2, 3, clap, right?
That's what I did.
Let's just do it one more time.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. I thought you were
right.
messing with me, but
No,
that's off. That's why you do that, so you can sync it up in post.
Oh, yeah, we need one of those little like movie clap things, like.
Yeah. Hey, Steven, how's it going, man?
What's up, Steven?
Steven. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, man. Good afternoon, everyone. We're recording, and for those of us watching live, we are the antsmarching.org team. I'm very distracted today. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm Matt. I am here joined by Joe, and this is the antsmarching.org podcast, episode 99. Joe, there we go. I'm in the flow now. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Matt. It's been a while since we got a chance to talk. Well, I mean, at least on a podcast. It's been hard to line up our schedules. We've both been having a lot of stuff going on at different times.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to finally get on the microphone with you again.
Yeah, likewise, man. I miss seeing you and obviously hanging out in person. We obviously saw each other at the Gorge, and since then, I think it's been come back to earth, back to reality, and get done all the stuff that we pushed off, and especially you probably all summer long, kind of playing catch up. So while we've been meaning to get a podcast together specifically to talk about the Gorge shows, the end of the tour, and then things like the miscellaneous shows that the band has played, the Jimmy Kimmel, Ellen, the Target private show, Spotify, Farm Aid, the Pilgrimage Festival being canceled, all kinds of stuff like that. Then you've got Mexico, Dave and Tim. You've got the fall tour. You've got a lot of stuff. The setlist game, right?
Hmm.
But
I'm most excited to hear about you going to the Gorge
yeah,
and
you
your
are.
feelings on that.
You might be the only one out there who really cares. Um, I hope my feelings aren't dulled by the passage of time on that. I hope.
Right, I know. It would have been great to. It's you can go both ways. So you get it fresh, or you get it, let it mature like a wine there and get some,
I I think the
let it settle
latter's
in.
I think the latter's better. I feel better having a little bit of time to talk about it. I do because I wasn't like coming out of a cannon one way or the other right away.
Hmm. Yep.
So I don't think there's any real going to be difference outside of just time to mull on it, which is better. So some people might want to hear a hot take, but I really didn't have a hot take after it. So it'll be good to let some time pass. Anyway,
I,
and
I kind of felt the same way. And I don't want just to add on to that, is that after the Gorge, it was like we were together Monday and Tuesday, and I never really like felt like I wanted to get it from you yet. I kind of felt like you wanted to sit on it and you weren't volunteering your opinion yet. So I was happy to let that opinion kind of form. So that's why maybe I'm so anxious, and I think the listeners are too, because the only shows that you've been to for the summer, you had some reservations or initially weren't going. So I'm anxious to hear what it'll be.
yeah, I mean, if I was chomping at the bit to get in your ear about it, you like that would be one
Oh yeah,
thing. There was none of that this year.
right.
Not a good thing, not a bad thing. It's just a thing. So yes, but unfortunately, we have to push all of that off.
So much to talk about, yeah, but
Yeah.
something more important came up, huh?
Yep. Joe wanted to maybe do a double back-to-back podcast here, but I don't know if we want a 4-hour podcast session today because I think that's what it would turn into. It's like
Yeah.
65 degrees and sunny outside here too, outside Seattle. So I'm happy.
That's so today is the one day that it's nice in
It's
Seattle. Oh man.
the one day out of the year.
Oh geez, you got to get out there. Yeah. Screw
I know we have to
podcasts.
take advantage of it. But yes, like you said, we have quite a bit to talk about. It's been what 17 years since we've had a similar situation to this. Is that right?
What situation are you talking about?
Um,
Yes, it's been
I
a
think
long
another
time.
live tracks came out.
Yes, another live track. It's been a while since we've had a live tracks.
For those who may be unaware, yesterday it seemed like what's now being called the Batson sessions have leaked out on the internet. And again, for those unfamiliar, the Batson sessions are a set of recordings from various times in 2006 after the release of Standout. That the band went back into the studio, recorded with producer Mark Batson, and it looks like a bunch of material has now made its way to the internet. And it's kind of echoes of the Lily White Sessions situation. It didn't come completely on the heels of the Come Tomorrow release, but there are obviously some similarities. We'll dive into that, Joe. But do you have anything to add right now? I mean, this is pretty surreal time.
Very, very. I mean, after the Lily White sessions and that experience, I mean, I never thought we'd actually have that again. Um, I mean, that was like news breaking, like not just DMB community, that was across the music industry
True.
about studio sessions getting out and the fan base turning it into an album and treating it as an album. But even though the band, wasn't happy with it and didn't want us to hear it, the management clapped down so much after that. Contracts and that people had to do and security and all this kind of stuff. I didn't think it would ever happen again. So it's crazy to find ourselves in this spot right now.
Well, and that is the kind of similarity, but different too. Just to kind of set up the Lily White sessions, this is that was the fourth album from the band, the follow-up to Before These Got a Street. So at that point, imagine you've got those 3 albums in the bag. Anticipation is super high. The band is peaking. They're on stadium tours. I mean, I don't think they've ever been. They were probably at the height of their popularity and their momentum at that point, right? They start their 2000 summer tour. They're playing Gray Street, Sweet Up and Down. They're playing JTR. Like, people are loving these songs, and they know that these are the songs that they're in the studio recording with Lily White.
Right.
And then the release date starts slipping, and then it was November of 2000. They remember that picture at Giant Stadium, that big poster, and it was basically the advertisement for the album. Everything's all set, and basically, the talking bartender. There's this feeling that we already know what songs are on the album, and yet there was no sense of disappointment. It was this anticipation, this excitement. This album's coming out, and then it all goes away. Dave goes out to LA for 2 weeks with Glenn Ballard, comes out with Every Day, and we're like, what? And whatever that was, the feeling of the community, whatever that was, and the reaction was nothing compared to the fact that I think either right before or right after Every Day came out, these Lily White sessions leak. Mm-hmm. And now you've juxtaposed, you basically said, okay, this is what I missed out on, and admittedly not finished, but quite good. Not finished, and this is what you gave me instead. And I think that backlash, the timing of that couldn't have been worse. And it's basically like buying the latest iPhone the day before the next one comes out.
Oh yeah, you got, and then like the next day they release the new version, and you're like, are you kidding me? Stuck with this.
So this situation's not quite the same, right? I mean, this was not an aborted session that we could have gotten if not for Come Tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I know we were talking about this before, and I was thinking that they were pretty similar, and there are some similarities, but I think what you just said there made me notice the difference. And the difference is with the Lily White sessions, the fans thought they got their old band back. They were like, what is this new band? We just feel like we got tricked. Oh, there's my old band. Yes, we want that back. And that's what made it so big. In this case, I don't think anybody feels like Come Tomorrow was a really different band. I know we have a whole podcast on our feelings about it, but I don't feel like the Batson Sessions release is like, oh yes, that's the old DMB. That's the DMB that we wanted to have and we didn't get with Come Tomorrow. I don't think that applies in this case.
Right.
But that did apply to the Lily White.
It wasn't
sessions.
Either or, basically.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Just additive. Yeah. Bonus.
That being said, it is new music, even though it's over 10 years old. This is new music that, and some of it never heard of before, never even hinted at. And the opinions abound. But it's natural. It's going to happen. You're going to make the argument. How many of these tracks would you rather have on Come Tomorrow or whatever the latest album was versus what actually made it on the album? And me personally, I think I could make an argument for a handful of songs that I would have rather had. Listen, the longer the time goes on, the Come Tomorrow is an awful album in my opinion. Bad.
Whoa.
Bad.
You gave it initially a
2.
review? Gave it. What does 2 mean?
2 out of 5. 2 stars out of 5.
Okay, you gave it a 2 out of 5. All right, I thought we did letters, but grades.
We might have, but again.
So now you're saying it's still a 2, or are you saying it's a 1? Or
I
what are you
haven't
saying now?
listened to it since that week. But you hear songs get caught in your head. You hear things live, and I am flabbergasted at the lack of effort that this band now puts forth in the studio. In terms of, or the taste in what they actually decide to put in an album. I don't know what's going on, but by any object,
I wouldn't call it the band. I would call it Dave's taste at this point.
Yeah, and you and I have had conversations recently about it possibly being a thing with Boyd in terms of, I think you miss this sound, and maybe I miss the sound of violin, but maybe for so long they've been trying to get Boyd back into the creative cycle, and it just wasn't happening. So then they feel free. They've come out. I've never had so much fun because they don't have to worry about trying to fit this sound in that really wasn't participating for a while.
Sure.
Right. But it's whatever's going on. I don't know what they were doing with Come Tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll ever go back and listen to that album.
Yeah, I don't think it was Boyd related. I think it's just Dave preferences. And I think actually one reason I have that feeling is because of these Batson sessions. You can see that songs were getting written and weren't really thinking about Boyd while these songs were being written. There clearly isn't parts for them, right. And the songs don't get changed that much when they add Boyd into them. So for the songs that are, so I just think it's Dave's musical taste and where he wants to be right now. He's been very clear. He doesn't feel like singing about silly things. He feels like he's an older man and that just is childish and it doesn't seem right coming out of his mouth. He wants to sing about more, mature things. And
I don't know if I agree with that though. I mean, C Cup's not silly.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying all the music's
monkey
silly.
Stuff.
Yeah, the monkey stuff. He always used to. Every song had a monkey. Every album
I like
had a monkey
that
reference. I know, but he doesn't want to sing about goofy stuff like that, like cornbread. He's little bit more.
Yeah.
He's like a parent now and doesn't want to feel maybe embarrassed or immature to be singing about cornbread while he's got, three
Yeah.
teenagers.
Well, we can break down how we feel about. I mean, you and I have sprinkled through the listening to this. We haven't put the headphones on for the last 24 hours nonstop or whatever, but we have some thoughts. But you want to go back and talk a little bit about the history of this leak in particular, or at least as far as we know, right?
Sure. Yeah, we can put together our pieces. I think we probably should have started with at the start is we aren't associated with the leak. We aren't the leakers. We haven't done that, so we'll just cover that from the start. But yeah, let's talk about where did this all first come about?
Yeah. Well, for me at least, it was. I'm not a huge fan of being on the message boards anymore. I've just when you're a message board forum administrator, whatever, just so many years of it, you kind of just back away. But I found a thread on DMBC, the DMB forum of ants, and people were talking about these lost sessions from '06 with Batson, and supposedly some girl got these demo CDs, supposedly from Butch. It started on a DMB family Facebook group or something, a picture of these CDs, and then the community went wild and scared her away, or some guy was going to buy it from her. She was trying to sell them. The rumors are rumors, right? Somebody said someone like law enforcement got in touch with them and scared them away, and that was 3 months ago, and not much happened since then, right? As far as we knew.
Yeah, as far as we knew, and my understanding is the recordings were as part of that law enforcement thing were to be destroyed.
Right.
So we pretty much thought that was the end of that thread. There wasn't going to be any more.
Yep.
And maybe it was the end of that thread, and maybe a new thread came up because of it.
Sure. As of yesterday, people, we start getting emails and text messages from people sending us like clips and links to certain things. Is this real? What is this? And on top of that, apparently another site there, DMB Almanac, starts posting lyrics to songs and song titles. And then, of course, those got pulled down. And somebody had said, go Google for a certain string. And we did that. And lo and behold, there's the link to these sessions. And we have no idea how it got there. But apparently whoever was sharing it shared it on a site where they named it a certain way to make it easy to be discovered and got indexed by Google. And so we
if you have something, this doesn't apply just to music. If you have anything that you don't want the people to get and you want to keep pretty private, that's like 101. Like how about if you want to share a file with somebody and you don't want the public to see it, you don't put it on a publicly indexable source.
Yeah.
All right. If I got to send some private stuff to you, Matt, I'm not going to put it on a public streaming service that Google is searching and gonna make available for everybody else. That's whoever did that was either was intentional because they wanted that to happen, or it was pretty silly and ended up being leaked.
Yeah. So apparently there's two discs of material out, and the rumor is now that there's a third disc that
supposedly. Well, it's not a rumor. I mean, we have photos.
Saw the image of a third disc.
Yeah, there was 3 discs. One from 2005, with looks like lots of tracks, probably short in length, probably working ideas. And then there was the two other ones from '06, one from spring and one from the winter. And those are the 2 discs that have since leaked. I think one's got a total of 16 tracks on it, the spring one, and the winter one's got a total of 17 tracks, which puts us at. Out of all of those, I think we got 15 that were unheard to this point, I think is my count. And then the other 18 are just early versions or alternate recordings of songs that we've previously heard about through whatever means.
Yeah. So that third disc, not out up to this point, but already, as typical, some blame flying around that apparently the assumption is now the third disc is not going to be released because somehow news was posted on Ants about this, and we don't know if that disc is coming out or not. But Joe, if there's blame to be placed, where should this blame be placed? I mean, did we leak this thing? Apparently nobody knew about it until we posted. Nobody, except all of Twitter and Google and everything else.
Yeah.
Almanac.
I mean, if you want to, it's so silly to talk about the third disc at this point.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
to speculate that to already say that it's not going to come out, I think is kind of, jumping to conclusions. But if it doesn't come out, where does, do we blame somebody? I mean, it seems weird to blame somebody. If you want to blame somebody, it's probably the person that leaked the content. And it was out there. It was starting to be public knowledge. And once it got out into public and people were sharing it, that's when you ruined the third disc. It didn't matter if somebody posted a news article about it. Everyone was going to find out about it anyway. Everyone already was finding out about it. So, the problem is, with any of these kind of stuff, it's about containment. And we actually tried our best to contain it when things were getting posted about it on the forums. We were deleting posts. Posts were getting deleted. Matthew from the staff from the mods was deleting posts. We were closing threads. We were trying to do our best to contain it. But there's that point of you lose containment, and now it's just spreading. And then once it's up on Google, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
And guess what? We're a Dave Matthews Band fan site, and something of this significance is relevant. And we're going to put a blog post up if it's relevant news.
Well, yeah, we tried to contain it. At the point that it's no longer contained, everyone's going to find out about it. We were, at that point, it was already a done deal. So we're just reporting the news at that point.
Right. So apparently, still people want to find somebody to blame. It sounds like they should look at the people who originally shared it. I mean, if the third disc was in such precarious balance, then maybe sharing the first two discs so publicly wasn't the wisest move. So maybe they should look in the mirror, whoever chose to point the finger elsewhere.
Right. I think there's still not a news article up. Everybody knows about this, and we're still in the same situation of this supposedly no third disc, but getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here.
Right. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm, when I look at the track list and I look at some of the songs, again, there's a. Sorry?
Well, I'm sorry to give you a train of thought. Just you made me think of something just on this leak. These are clearly early sessions, and I think one person is publicly associated with the band. One person has publicly come out and made a public comment on it. That right, Matt?
Yeah, Mr. Batson himself has made a comment.
Producer. Yeah, what did he say? Do you have it?
So he did. I do. He had said that these are song ideas and not the completed versions by far. I wish you guys could hear versions that are much farther along than these. And you think about it, and we're all happy to hear anything new and unreleased. But think about it from an artistic standpoint. Like, I get it. If you are halfway done with a finished article and then you want people to hear that, I got to feel it's probably pretty invasive to feel like someone's looking at your art halfway done or listening to your art halfway done. So, and especially that goes with the producer, because when it comes time to listen to the quality and the layering of these things, it's pretty thin. And at this point, the producer's really not all that involved at this stage. And like anybody can hit record. This stage is not where a producer really has an impact. And I don't know if Mark's thinking.
Well, the producer does more than just the record. I mean, it's song generation, it's structure, song structure. That they're influencing the musicians on what they think they should do. The musicians aren't coming up with it all. They're definitely relying on the producer on how to structure the song, where to put refrain, what kind of instruments should we have on it. So even before you hit record, the producer is very involved at that point.
I suppose, yeah. But I mean, I guess if I'm that producer, I'm still probably a little embarrassed or shy to let anybody hear things at this stage.
Oh, 100%.
I guess that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, and I could totally respect that. Like you're saying, half art, I'm on the same page. I respect it. And if we can do anything, is to try to put people's eyes on, like, this isn't meant for us. And I totally agreed with the producer, with the band, like, we shouldn't have it, but we do. There's nothing we can't all just say we're gonna not listen to it. I mean, it all came out. I think it desires from the fan base to just have more material. I think this fan base wants more from this band, and we go long periods without new material or new songs. It would be awesome if we got one of these songs, like just trickle them out. And I read an article from Bruce Floor, who's the band's A&R, rep and he talks about his advice to other bands out there, and his advice is like, don't really put an album together. In today's day, don't put an album together unless you have something very significant to say with a lot of songs, like like a Pink Floyd album or something like that. His recommendation in today's world is to constantly be releasing material. One song every couple of months is his recommendation for the music industry now, and that's what fans are getting from other bands right now, but we're not getting it from DMB. And we have to wait so long between albums, so long between new songs, that we're just starved for new material. And that's what creates this, like, we'll take unfinished versions
Yep.
because
Oh,
we don't get them very often.
Joe, that's a fantastic take. I didn't think of it from that angle, but I completely and wholeheartedly agree with you 100%. And me taking the little harsher tone after 6 years of waiting, pining, like you're saying, to have Come Tomorrow be the response is not getting it done. And it leaves
I mean,
room. It leaves room for stuff like this to make it that much more significant.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think you said your rating of Come Tomorrow has gone down since our first review. Mine is probably equal. There's some things that are up on Come Tomorrow that I actually like after more time. I think my biggest complaint still is that there's too much Dave solo on Come Tomorrow. And when you hear all these songs that from the Batson sessions that could be full band songs, and we can have less Dave solo songs, that's probably the thing that I wish the most out of this is trading some of those Dave solo songs for these other ones on here that they're going to have feature the full band.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a song like "Early Home" on the Batson sessions, which is essentially Dave solo. There's some cool horns at the end. I'll take that over. Throw a song at me from Come Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
yeah. When I'm weary, I don't know.
even When I'm Weary, I like as an album ender. It's a minute and a half or whatever. I'd be more apt to accept that if there were like 60 minutes of music on that disc instead of 42 or whatever, however many minutes there are. I wouldn't mind a little minute and a half closer like that typically.
Yeah.
But When I'm Weary is not a complaint for me, so Come Tomorrow, but so many other songs are. It's just that's a snoozer of an album. And I guess what I'm saying is it's impossible to look at the Batson sessions outside of the prism of Come Tomorrow. For me, at least. You try
Normally,
to.
you try to, and normally we would, but the thing that makes it we can't is Come Tomorrow has Batson session stuff on it.
Yeah.
Normally Come Tomorrow would just be the band right now in this moment, and it is to whatever degrees, but they're actually pulling songs from the Batson sessions. So they just blended those two together, Come Tomorrow and Batson sessions, because there's overlap there.
That's a good point. I mean, Come On, Come On, which was just Come On and the Batson sessions, is not all that different when you listen to the two versions that are on there from the final release. Same with Idea of You.
Yeah. Just they clearly those tracks that we have in the Batson sessions are early versions. The song structure didn't change. They just added maybe some of the other elements. And I think it's an important note is these Batson sessions are very rough. So there's 2 CDs that we have right now from 2006. The first one in the spring is very rough. There are tracks there that is just mainly Dave and Batson only. And it's like Batson laying down the drum parts on a drum machine.
Yeah.
Like it's not even Carter on the drums. I'm making assumption, but I think it's a safe assumption. But it is early stuff. Now, the second one is less raw. There's more work on it. But still missing a lot of things. So there's not a lot of horns on any of this.
Nope.
These songs haven't gotten to that point. No strings. I think like maybe 2 of them have strings. Don't quote me on that. But no Boyd recordings are on here. So these are so early, and that's what happens when you get to Come Tomorrow is you now introduce the horn arrangements, introduce some of the string arrangements. I know you don't like the horn arrangements. And that's what starts to complete these songs, but structurally some of them are nearly identical. Yeah. There are other changes for sure.
We can kind of pick into a little bit more, but I would say I have something in mind. Biggest disappointment that you look at the track list, you're like, I can't wait to hear that studio version, and you're disappointed with it. What song?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, let me look at the list here. You know it off the top of your head.
I do. I have an answer to that.
Should I try to guess?
Yeah, I think you should.
You think Shotgun?
Bingo.
I mean, that would be my only theory.
I like the beginning of it, right? It's just that I always like the intro to that, but you listen to it and you're like, yep, that thing is less polished than any live version you ever heard. And Boyd is on there and bad, out of key, but There's not much to that one.
Yeah, at least he starts out of key or something. Yeah, it starts a little screechy or something there, and then you could tell that's just shows you how raw these
I
ones were.
miss the scree.
You missed the
I
scree,
don't
I
want to.
know.
I don't want to talk too much about the Gorge, but overall,
Yeah, save that for the
this
next.
band requires that sound. Yeah,
Save that for the next pod.
I will. I will. So do you have any standout tracks that you really liked?
Ah, no. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Let me just put it out. There's a lot of stuff that's really good.
How about
I
Break
haven't
For
had.
It?
You like Break for It? I
Oh,
like,
it's so good.
and you like the end of it particularly, right?
Uh,
Or no?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just like Break For It, like that.
Oh, well, I'm thinking Break Free. Excuse me. I'm thinking
Oh,
Break Free
yeah. No,
because the
Break
Break
For
Free
It.
part doesn't have the horn
I
section.
really like that. We've only heard Break For It from an IEM, I think, right? Back in a long time ago.
Right.
But that little guitar, I really, really like that. Um, so that's a highlight for me. There's some really cool, like, you know, your favorite bands of all time, like the Beatles, I think had some studio stuff leak out that wasn't ever meant to be released, and it's akin to being a fly on the wall watching your favorite artist paint or or record in the studio. And as much as you might see it on one hand as a violation of privacy, and it absolutely can be considered that, no doubt, it's also the curiosity, the awe. You can't help but want to be a part of that or see a part of that creative process. and
Oh,
and and
100%.
and some of these tracks, soprano guitar, which is basically shotgun with a beat over it and just goofing
Yeah.
around. The Robert Randolph jam, recovered. Some of these things are just good. The
Yeah.
Fonz,
Yeah,
just
I mean, like you make a good point. We want to be involved. We want that desire for more content. We want to see some of this process happen. And again, we're used to it from other bands, especially up and coming bands that are offering that content because they're trying to get your attention. But they're giving us looks inside the studio. They're giving us tracks frequently, and we desire that from this band too. I was very disappointed on what kind of insight we got to the studio recording of this. I think what did we get? 2 or 3 2-minute YouTube videos
yeah.
and some of them used old interviews. I mean, we essentially got no insight into the recording process through other than those short videos and maybe 1 or 2 interviews. We just want more, and this is a great look to be able to see. Which some of this, we get in the old days, we get a YouTube video, and you'd hear these things in the background. They'd be turned down real quiet, or the band
Oh,
recording it, and people would go crazy. I mean, imagine if you heard some of these little guitar loops, in the background of a video,
yep,
a promo video,
yep.
and that's what we miss. We don't.
Well,
There's none of that anymore.
do you remember the 2000 tour? They had not played Busted Stuff yet, but they had like tents outside the venues doing certain things. Like I don't remember what they were, but affiliations with the band, and they would play clips from the Lillywhite sessions. And one of them had Bust. That's the first time anybody had heard Busted Stuff, was outside at a tent in a band related kind of pop up tent outside a concert in
Yep.
the summer. It's like stuff like that. People soaked up,
Yep.
and now that was anticipation. Now this is like, I think it's a reaction to disappointment too. I mean,
Disappointment.
let's say Come Tomorrow comes out and it really blows us all away. Let's say that it's a return to form. It's blows us all away. It's shocking. It's just good DMB. And then this leaks. I think while we're all excited and clamoring for it, I don't know. I think the goodwill, and this isn't as good as the album. Let's say that. Let's say the album is far better than what we get.
Okay.
Is this as big of a deal?
Um, Good question. I think the big deal about it is that we have a bunch of songs, and people love having a bunch of songs that if you only listen to the albums, if you only buy every album that the band releases, and then your buddy comes up and says, "Hey, have you heard this track?" You're like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
where'd you get that track? It's not on an album." And people want to know the full DMB catalog as much as they can because they want to go to the show and be able to know the song. So having songs that are not on an album is pretty, but are potentially get played or part of the catalog. People want to know what those are, regardless of how good they are, regardless of the album that just came out as like the best album ever. these songs are part of a D&B catalog and people just want to know them. So that's what makes a big deal out of it. So I think regardless, any new songs that come out, people are going to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah. You
I
got
don't,
any?
do you?
Yeah. I think so. And as I was asking you that question, I almost said to myself, is that really that big of a deal, Matt? Is it that different? I think, like you said, new music. Even if they just released 100 new tracks and we got through them
Yeah.
all in a couple of months, I think 10
Yeah.
more would just be as eagerly eaten up.
Well, here's a question for you. Do you which would be a bigger deal? A studio session of a track is leaked, or a finished track is given out. So say right now, say if the band were to release either a leaked studio track or not, a studio track from early, it's rough, or they released actually a finished song. They release a single.
Is it the
Not
same?
not a,
Is it the same track? As it, the both of them are unheard of prior?
both are unheard of, but one's raw from the studio early, and one is a completed. The band has gone through the entire
I
process
think it's
and
got to be a completed song because you're getting one song. Would you rather have it polished or not?
right.
There is a certain mystery, right?
Yeah.
Allure to the unreleased stuff, or
Hmm.
unfinished stuff. But already people are like, oh, let's get better quality versions of these files. I don't. I think people want to err towards the best quality, the best production possible.
Hmm.
But at this stage, they'll take whatever they can get.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, exactly. They'll take whatever they get. But if you want to make even a bigger deal, is what we're talking about. What's a big deal? A big deal would actually be the band releasing
Oh yeah,
one of these
I,
songs
I
in a
don't know
finished
why.
form
I
without
don't.
an album.
Why do you go?
And you,
How do you have this in your pocket for over a decade and you go 6 years without releasing an album?
yeah, they're just even release a single tracks would be great. I mean, you look at somebody like Weezer, and all this Toto stuff. They went into the studio and recorded Africa and what's the other one that they did? Um,
Rosanna?
yeah, Rosanna, exactly. They went in the studio and just recorded those two covers and released them to their fans. Released them on Spotify. Just did a song, completely went through the full process, producing, mixing, mastering, and released it. That's so
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome to do. And then Toto went and did a Weezer song. I mean, that'd be great if we could just pick one of these songs, which appears to be "Drive Me Away." I'm just watching the chat here. Everybody
And
is
that's
saying
the
"Drive Me
Gas
Away" is
into
their
Fire,
favorite.
right? That show from 2004, the June 17th, I
Yeah,
think.
take that one song. Let's produce it and release it and just keep music flowing. And that would be a huge deal. Bigger deal than just a leaked version of Drive Me Away. A completed version of Drive Me Away would be awesome.
Yeah,
Would love
I don't get it either. It almost feels like the songs that we're hearing, it almost feels like they had to be squeezed out of Dave. These songs don't. To me, it just seems like, you know what? All I can do is come out with my own part. I can't even be bothered coming up with what the sax or the violin is going to sound like in this song.
Oh,
Not only do we get half an album's worth of material that wasn't very good, it's half a band's worth of contributions. Come Tomorrow is like the most watered down beer I think I've ever had.
I don't know. You're getting exaggerated in my opinion.
Okay.
But yes, I miss that the band doesn't go into the studio together and makes these. It now seems that Dave will join
Yeah.
any one of these producers. He'll go to those producers' studios. He'll jumps around. You can see it from all the liner notes that we
Yeah.
have from Come Tomorrow. He goes to there, and who has writing credits too? The producer and Dave have writing credits. They come up with a song, and then they toss it over to the band to add their pieces. And I think it's really interesting because if you look at Kill the King and Break Free, that's just Batson and Dave recording, and it looks like Batson records the drum machine drum parts. Carter's the end versions that we have of those songs, or the songs that the band plays with those now. Carter's playing that drum machine part, and you kind of think that Batson wrote that drum part, and just Carter's playing it. It's not even Carter producing coming up creatively about the drum part. So that's the part that sucks. I wish the band would record and come up with the songs as a group versus Dave and a producer coming up
But
with it.
you're
And
right.
that was the problem with Everyday.
Well, and I don't want
The
to
same
pretend
thing.
to know exactly the details, but I would put money down that they've gone into the studio so many times, just like you described, and they lose momentum. Dave's in there for a couple days or whatever, and that's it. They get sent, but then the ball gets dropped, and the momentum's lost, the feeling's lost, the groove is lost, and they start over, and they do that over and over and over again, and they can't get an album out. 6 years for a band that's got all this kind of stuff in their pocket, and this is all what we know about right now. There's countless more, no question. Why are we squeezing this rock hard piece of granite to get some music out and drip, drip, drip? And like I said, I want
to see you squeeze some granite.
I want to view it in a bubble. I want to listen to it in a bubble. But I can't see what's happening here without throwing a really nasty eye at Come Tomorrow and say, that's what I had to wait 6 years for. And I'm not saying these are the Lillywhite sessions, and they're not. But it is a good amount of material that tickles my audible senses a lot more than what you just made me wait 6 years for and expect me to pay money for. I don't know.
I'm really getting what you're getting with the point. You're certainly saying these songs have not changed enough in 6 years that we had to wait 6 years. You know, the songs were, if you look at these songs, even though they're rough and what we have of official versions, especially like you say, Come On, it's 90% there. Why do we have to wait 6 years for the last 10%? And that's the point you're disappointed at, is like, why couldn't we put in the effort, put in that final 10% and get the music without waiting 6 years? Is that kind of
I think so, and I think it goes back to a common theme when, at least in my opinion, when we talk about this band in the studio, is that word effort, and I don't think there is any anymore. And here's the thing: Dave would absolutely take offense to that and say, I worked my ass off in there. And I'm sure you do. It's just that contiguous, you can't keep the momentum going. So you're doing this and you're busting butt to get up here. And then, oh my goodness, I can't get anybody together to do this. I can't get this part. Let's go back into the studio. Let's try this again. And it's probably a start stop. I think he's even talked about writing lyrics, something about constipation. I think it's certainly frustrating, the creative process. But even Johan on the live chat asks, is the band broken? Are they not able to record as a band in the studio anymore? Very valid question.
Yeah, I don't know what really happened there. I would say everybody associated with the band, members, any of that, would very much agree that there's not any effort going in. They will bend over backwards to show you all the stuff that the band is doing effort wise and the time. I mean, they can probably show you. Dave spent 1,000 hours in the studio. I'm not doubting that. It doesn't seem efficient, or the return for that effort there's got to be a better way. I mean, you could say, hey, I didn't make the basketball team, but I practiced, 18 hours out of the day. I mean, is that considered good? It's effort. I mean, yeah, I guess you're trying, but something's clearly not working.
It goes to but they're having such fun on the stage. I don't care. I hate my job sometimes, but I still put out a good product. Like, but for real. I mean, what's the judge? What are we all here for? To hear good music.
Right.
But so many people have become so tribal, where they've put so many hours and years of their lives into following this band, that to admit that it might not be what it once was is almost a personal defeat or personal failure. People take it that way. So therefore, they're on the tribe, they're red or blue, and I got to be okay with this no matter what. And
I'm not upset. I mean, yeah, I think it's not good, but I still enjoy what it is now. I know it's not as good as it was before, but the music I enjoy. I like it.
Yeah.
And I try to compartmentalize, like comparing back and forth, and just kind of live a little bit more in the moment.
Also, think, even though they reached back into 2006 to pull out some songs for Come Tomorrow, think of this fact: these songs are all at least 12 years old that we're listening to. This is not like a dump of studio material that came out, that they recorded a year ago, just spilled out too. It's weird to listen to the band in another era, actually.
Right.
So it's not like they were just playing these last night and threw them out and decided to come out with Come Tomorrow either.
Right.
It's another way to look at it.
Yep.
It's even though for me it's still impossible to listen to it in a bubble, it kind of maybe just has to be. It just is.
Yeah. Do you see Amber's comment here? We're talking about, is the band broken and them not recording as a band in the studio, from what we can tell from liner notes. And Amber throws out there, maybe it's not the same since LeRoi died. And that's the thing that broke doing the recording of the albums as a band. Everything we've read and heard is that LeRoi was much more of a creative force and a referee in the band
than he would ever let on by if you watched him up on stage, right?
Yeah, we have video of them in the studio, and LeRoi is there, and he's the most vocal person. He's pointing and telling people what to do and saying what he likes and not. You don't get any of that on live. In the studio, some of the video we have of LeRoi, he was very vocal. So there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. There is also something to be said that say that every day Busted, well, maybe not every day, but Busted Stuff and Stand Up both were LeRoi albums also. And I wouldn't say that Stand Up is regarded as a pinnacle of releases for this band and their discography, but it doesn't also sound like. I mean, look at the years of release. Every Day was 2001. Busted Stuff was 2002. Stand Up was 2005. They kicked out 3 albums in the space of 4 years. Mm. And after LeRoi, I mean, we knew that even though Big Whiskey was 4 years after Stand Up, Away from the World was 3 years. We know that Big Whiskey, they took multiple swings at that album.
Yeah.
And Away from the World is not played anymore. Apparently not liked by the band or Dave.
Dave, yeah, at least.
And then we have 6 years. So I mean, Amber, there's a lot of I don't think there's a lot of counterpoints to your argument there. I think that's very true.
Yeah, I guess the counterpoint would be these Batson sessions were recorded when LeRoi was alive, and clearly these Batson sessions appear to be Dave and Batson together. And LeRoi, some of these. Unless LeRoi is there and telling and contributing to Dave and Batson and just not recording any parts, I doubt it. But it almost looks like this was actually happening while LeRoi was alive, based on the timing. These were recorded in 05 and 06, and it's just Dave and Batson, and LeRoi was alive at that point.
Yeah. It's interesting, and for me it's easy to point to my dissatisfaction with certain things with the band and be like, and try to point to this and try to validate my gripes right now and say, see, but it'd be easy to draw that line, but it's not that direct of a line. Again, because it's 12 years old, these tracks are 12 years old. I think it is our overall point of why are we dying for music to come out at such a pace that we're seeing it when you've got stuff like this that even admittedly from Mark, this is early days stuff. And yet I would take 5 tracks out of here right now and put them on Come Tomorrow and be a lot happier with that album.
And are the ones you swapping out like My Feelings, the Dave solo ones, or no?
Yeah, well, I mean, do you want to do that real quick? Do you want to play Fantasy Album Builder?
I don't have my picks for what I would take from Batson sessions. That's not on Come Tomorrow.
Well, I'll say this. I'll grab. I don't know about Come Tomorrow, but I'll take Red Glare. I'll take Early Home. I'll take Drive Me Away. I'll take Scream Into the Grave. I'll take Break For It. I'll take Ask. And I'll take ABC. What's that, 6?
Sounds
6,
like a lot.
6 or 7. Yeah, and I mean, I'll throw out Samurai Cop, Can't Stop.
Oh, you can't throw out Samurai Cop.
Why? It's not a good song. I'll throw out She.
Very good song.
I'll throw out She.
She? You're crazy.
Well, there's another repetitive, boring, grungy song on this one called Celebrate, I think.
Yeah.
On the Batson Sessions. It's the same kind of thing. It's a boring, crunchy riff. I'll throw out Black and Bluebird. I'll throw out Do You Remember? I'll throw out Come Tomorrow. I mean, there's 6 right there.
Okay. I don't agree with Samurai Cop. I don't agree with She. Do You Remember? I'm on the fence, but I would.
Oof, this song's bad.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean,
so annoying.
Yeah, it's not the best, but it's still catchy. I wouldn't throw out as much as you.
You'd throw out Come Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not the biggest fan of Come Tomorrow.
Name me a Dave Matthews Band song that's worse.
I don't really have in my head what are the worst DMB songs. Yeah. I never really thought about that before.
That one takes a particular shot right to core.
Loving Wings, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Uh-oh, here comes a flame war.
Plastic Girl.
Yeah, but B-Rad, at least it didn't show up on an album. At least they knew. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of bottom ones.
No, you love everything.
You know what's interesting about this is I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I love every day.
I
God.
said everything.
Oh, sorry, everything. Love the phone book. You know what's interesting about this in the history was when stand up came out. I'm like racking my brain about this because it's been a long time, but I remember like the very first reference to stand up was like Amazon bookstore website, whatever, for pre-order or something, and they listed it as like stand up part one.
Mm.
This is from my memory that I'm remembering, and hopefully I'm not remembering it wrong. But they listed as part one, and we all flipped out like, "What part one? What does that mean? Is that is it going to be part two?" They quickly corrected it just to stand up. But then in interviews and whatnot, we from the band or from Batson, there was discussion that there was a ton of material and that a part two or just another album to quickly follow was very real. And clearly we can see from these recording sessions, there was a ton of material. There was enough for another album. So I don't know if this was all stuff that was intended to be Stand Up Part Two or give it a new name. But it's too bad that it didn't come out right at that time. Like we should have been able to do it, follow up stand up with all this material.
Kid A and Amnesiac. They were
Oh,
what?
that's great.
They were
Yeah.
like 12, 18 months apart.
Was it even that long? Actually, I can't
Yeah,
remember, but
yeah, but I mean,
I
they
feel
were
like it was
recorded in
close.
the same sessions, and they said, let's do it, let's put it out. And I don't. You're right. In the internet age, a song every 2 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
For a band that
New,
tours as much as
something new. Yeah,
for a band that tours as much as they do. This is not. These aren't the granddaddies. This is not Rolling Stones who still tour.
yeah,
But they have such a massive catalog to draw from. I mean, the band does have a massive catalog. They just refuse to diversify on tour. Um, it's it. I don't know why more music. And Bruce works for Red Light. So if only
right.
his it was only their flagship band
Oh yeah,
would take his advice.
follow his advice. Oh, I know. I read when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, why can't we do this? And I feel like it's hard to compare DMB when you say like an Elton John or Rolling Stones or whatever. It's like those are bands that aren't really. I'm gonna say they aren't putting out new music. You're gonna call me out on that, but for the most part, they're doing tours of the same material.
Yeah.
They're not trying. They're not constantly putting out new material. So you can't really apply like, well, look, Rolling Stones doesn't put out a new song every 2 months, or Elton John doesn't put out a new song every 2 months. They're in a different stage of their career.
Yeah.
They're not interested in producing new music. I think if you look at anybody that is putting out new music, they are releasing songs.
Those bands were at DMB's stage in their career before DMB started.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah. They're in a different part of the life cycle of a
yeah,
band.
yeah.
So it's hard you can't really compare to that. But if you compare to other bands that are in like Weezer, they're doing it. Freaking Toto's doing it, and they're much older. So I just wish they would. Wish we had all these songs. I just don't know what is the good reason. What do you think the good reason is for not releasing these songs? If you were to ask, now that we know all this, you say, Dave, you had all these songs in 2006. They just needed to be finished, or do you think that they were just bad songs?
I
Do you
think needing to be finished is such an ask of this band right now. It took them 6 years to put out Come Tomorrow, which sounds like they may have sat down over the course of an afternoon and sent the thing around ISDN and said, you put your part in, you put your part in. Okay, we're done. Look at Busted Stuff. That was a
Sure.
2 week effort. They don't like being in the studio anymore. They hate it because they can't get together. They can't get in the same room. You know what? Somebody roll around a studio with them on tour. Take a day off between shows and force them to sit in there and record, and maybe we'll get an album out of it. But other than that, it's Dave recording with a producer, sending something to Carter. He's going to lay it down when it
But I
comes.
guess, yeah, but okay, so you got these songs. You got, what's the one everybody's loving? Drive Me Away. You got this, and it's already at this point already. Why can't it get over the line? What is it? Dave saying no? Let's not do that song. It's not a good song. Is it Carter's not available or the band's not available to get together to finish it? There's no time.
I'm not a musician, but I would imagine when you're playing a song or writing a song, you're in the groove of that song.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if it sits on the shelf for too long, you lose it, and it's very hard to pick it back up.
Yeah, and I think that's what "Some Will Come Tomorrow" is these are songs that were stuck in that Dave had in his head that he was really liking and that he was feeling, and to that point,
Yep.
"Drive Me Away" was not a song that in the
Not in his
moment of
mind.
"Come Tomorrow," yeah, it was not on his mind. It wasn't stuck in his head. "When I'm Weary" or what else? "Do You Remember?" Just stuck in his head, and he couldn't get them out. And he's like, "These are the kind of songs I want. These are the songs I want on the album."
And
because
it's a
I heard.
path of least resistance. I think. I think getting that laid down was a lot less effort than it would have been to go and take something that might really be something and work on it again, rewarm it up, and
Right.
and put more ingredients into it. I think that's a lot more difficult. I did. There's nothing anybody could tell me to say the band is not lazy in the studio. I am absolutely convinced of that.
That's such a mean thing to say. That is so mean to say. I mean,
I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say that.
I'm trying to think that there's got to be another step before just saying. I mean, man, I could not imagine saying that to their face that you're lazy in the studio. I think
I
they're not going about it the best way,
if
and I don't know if I don't think it's out of laziness.
if I had the opportunity to say it to them, um, obviously I'd be polite, but I would say the outcome makes it appear like there's not a drive to push yourself to the next level. All things considered, I'm not one of those people who. A really quick side note: this was 15 years ago. I'm in New York. I'm having coffee with some people, and I look out the window. I go, boy, look at that. It's when the Scion cars first came out. You know the XB, that boxy thing. It looks like
Yeah.
and I go, who on earth would buy that? That is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the guy I'm having coffee with says, oh, that's mine. And some people might go, oh, I didn't really mean that. I was just being I said, I'm really sorry about that. Like, it's just how I feel. I owned it. Like, I'm not one to say one thing and then just say, oh, no, I didn't really mean that. Like, listen, I'll own that I said that, and maybe I put my foot in my mouth a little bit, but honestly, I just feel like it's just not for me, man.
Right.
I wouldn't say that I think the band is lazy and then be like, oh, I didn't mean lazy, guys. Like, if they ever called me on it, hey, Matt, this is Dave. What's up, jackass?
Hey, what's up, Matt? How's it going? Hey.
But like DMB Tattoo, thank you, man. He says lazy as in content or comfortable. I don't pretend to know what kind of effort needs to go into recording an album, and I know it's tough, and I know the Lily White sessions were not an easy situation, this and that. Ultimately, I'm a fan, and I know what you guys are capable of, and it just doesn't sound anywhere remotely close to what you have, the standard you have set.
But this comes down to where we differ on feelings. Say the effort or whatever we want to say, the route they're going is less. It's not ideal. Would you rather have the not ideal or have nothing at all? It's like, then just stop, or hey, whatever. If that's the only
That's a
way
false
we're gonna
choice.
if we're only going to get music this way, I'd rather if this is how it works for the band, and this is if we're going to get music, it's got to be this way. Fine, it's got to be this way, and I'd rather take the music. I think you're of the opinion of
No, it doesn't mean I have to sit there and take the music. I can comment on it.
sure, you can comment on it.
That's all I'm saying. Like, it's a false choice. It's not a binary choice. That it's either have it how it used to be, or
Yeah,
have it, or don't.
Yeah, but you can comment on it, but then at some point you got to say, okay, I now know that it's going to be this way. Can I evaluate it in that form versus constantly comparing it to, oh, I wish they would go back to the old way they recorded. At some point,
Now, would I rather have them have release come tomorrow, or we're still waiting on an album? I would still wait. Because now how many years? It's going to be at least 4 years until we see whatever's next. At least, right?
Oh man, we're
That's
gonna be
the
at the
thing.
next
Because
every World Cup. We're gonna get every World Cup we're gonna get an MV album.
no, I mean, or let's say they didn't release it. Well, it's possible tomorrow something cool could drop if they hadn't released come tomorrow. But now we know that's what we got. You waited 6 years for it, and now you probably got another 6, if ever, that we get another one.
Yeah, but so you're making the assumption that things would get better with more time.
No, I'm gambling that something would be better with more time.
I think that's what makes you think that something's gonna
Well,
change.
listen, Dave woke up tomorrow morning and feels a little different. I'll take the gamble that it's better than what we got.
It's not why is it? I mean, it's not before these crowded streets. Yeah, okay, it's not that, but
It's not every day.
This is way better. You saying this is worse than Every Day?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Every Day had the band in it and it had a direction at least.
No.
I
No.
take
The Every Day was Glenn Ballard and Dave recording in the studio, putting it in written sheet music, and the band members fly in and play sheet music.
Somehow the entire band played on almost every song. I don't imagine that.
Oh, they played on it, but they didn't contribute to it. Dave and Glenn Ballard wrote the music.
Ultimately, I'm not saying these guys aren't writing the songs. I want to hear the instruments.
Glenn Ballard has not been back with the band, has not done any new songs with Dave. It's not part of any of these 3 or 4 producers that came back for Come Tomorrow. Clearly, that was not a working ingredient. The outcome of that is nowhere better than these sessions or Come Tomorrow. The music from Come Tomorrow, there's good songs on there.
Ooh, I see. I don't agree.
You don't think there's any good songs on Come Tomorrow?
I think Again and Again is all right, and I like Come On a little bit. And that's it, right?
Man, so much. I mean, I love Virginia in the Rain. I know you don't like Samurai Cop or She, but those are good songs. I mean,
I don't know how you like She.
Really? She's fun. She's fun.
It's just nah.
And Cornbread. I like Cornbread on that album. Eric Cornbread. What am I talking about?
I don't know what you are talking about.
The remake of Cornbread. Or no, Can't Stop. Thank you. God, my brain can't stop.
Joe.
Can't Stop. I like Can't Stop.
I know. Free the beast inside of you and really tell me how you feel.
I like the reversion of Can't Stop, and it's fun live.
Anybody else? Anybody out there agree with this guy?
Yeah, me over here.
Yeah.
Let me out of the closet.
Yeah, the guy you've got ball gagged back there.
I told him to agree with me, and then he'll let him
Hey, Joe,
out, but...
what's on your wall?
What?
What's on your wall? What's the tape? Is that tape? The red stuff coming out of the side of the painting.
Oh, that's where a shelf used to be.
Oh, okay.
A shelf used to be. I took the shelf down, and that's like some old paint from generations before that I did not live here.
I'm going to call your landlord. I'm going to make sure.
You're getting inspecting on me.
I just have to check you just to make sure you're not doing anything weird since you love Can't Stop. I mean, Joe, it's awful. It's awful. The fact that made an album over anything else, it's awful.
Oh, really? I freaking loved Can't Stop. I have to get some power here.
Yeah. Okay.
But see if I can.
Anyway, it's not like this entire Batson Sessions leak is full of gems either. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 really interesting pieces of music that aren't done yet, but I would want to hear more and hear what they develop out of them. So it's not like, again, it's not the binary choice. This is what I got this is what I could have gotten instead of Come Tomorrow. It's not that. It's easy to make that comparison, and that's what I'm inadvertently doing here for the sake of conversation. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna listen to this more. I'm going to listen to this a hell of a lot more than I listen to Come Tomorrow. I mean, Come Tomorrow I listened to like twice, and I just felt like I've heard the album. I still listen to Before These Crowded Streets, and I'll hear things that I haven't picked up on before.
You listen to Come Tomorrow more than twice. I don't believe you when you say that.
Album end to end? Maybe,
at least the new songs.
Maybe 3 times.
The songs that you hadn't heard before on the album. Songs that you heard on the album Come Tomorrow you had previously heard, you probably gave 2 listens. I agree, you probably gave 2 or maybe 3 or 4 listens to that. I think the songs that you hadn't heard before, you had to give close to double-digit listens.
Oh, I don't think so. I think no more than 4 tops.
No more than 4.
There's nothing for me to grab onto to go back to.
Come On, you listened to 4 times.
No, I listened to that more times. I'm talking like, yeah, okay. I said Come On, and again. Those 2. More than that. Nothing else.
She you listened to twice.
I don't like the song at all.
What else am I missing? Give me some more songs from Come Tomorrow.
You've got Do You Remember?
Yeah, you didn't listen to that twice. No, probably not.
You've got When I'm Weary. I think I've heard it twice.
Good example.
Black and Bluebird. I listened for Jeff Coffin popping his head out of the gopher hole and then going right back down for the rest of the album. That was fun. I'm like, oh, that's what the band used to sound like. Okay, there's the Dave Matthews Band, and then they disappeared. So I don't care for that song at all. I just, again, it doesn't grab me. It doesn't make me want to listen to it again and again. It might be fine in the background. It's not a bad sounding song. It's kind of pleasant, a little hoppy, a little frolicking through, but it's not a song that I'm sink my teeth into at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about Come Tomorrow.
That Girl Is You.
You know what's funny? And I'm trying to keep the Preservation Hall band performance out of it because that can really color that song a lot lighter than a lot of people would say. And in a bubble, like I could appreciate the gall of them attempting that, and I like the beat. I like the beat.
Yeah.
On the album, sucks. It does. And he did it in one take, and his voice is awful.
Yeah.
But live is kind of fun when the band comes in. If they actually would jam that out at the end, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that album,
You're right. Yeah, you reminded me. Yeah, the album version is not the
no.
not the best. I mean, it could have been more on the album. Like, yeah, I agree.
Yep. But I mean, not to go too much into the Gorge, but that was a top 10 moment for me on tour. Was Preservation Hall Jazz Band on That Girl's You, and there are people who would high count posters on Ants who are like, oh, it sounds like garbage. It sounds like a wall of sound. And I'll agree that any recording I've listened to since then, or YouTube or whatever, does sound muddled. It just sounds like they're all blaring up there. I can promise you this. At the concert, it sounded like, how do these guys coordinate all of this? This is a proper jam. Like, there are a lot of people on that stage, and nobody's stepping on each other. It really did sound great. Man, that was a special moment.
And they're coming to Seaville.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about more on the next pod, but
Yep.
that's probably one of the prime announcements of the fall tour is that Preservation Hall Jazz Band is going to be in Charlottesville.
Yep. Are they opening? Are they playing their own thing? It's just
Opening.
They're opening.
Yeah.
How fantastic for them. That's so great.
Yeah, which is what they did for Gorge, and
Yep.
then we'll just have our fingers crossed that they bring them out again.
Yep. So, speaking of the Lillywhite sessions, there is a little bit of Lillywhite session related news. I don't know this guy, but there's an artist. I think we might have chatted before a little bit about him. Riley Walker. From what I understand, he's like a parody artist, or I don't know if that means he's like a Tenacious D kind of thing, or the Concords or whatever. Like but I understand he's a bit of a goofball in ways. But he's actually releasing a cover album of the Lillywhite sessions. And it's the whole thing. And they've up to the, I don't know if they've released any more now, but they had released Busted Stuff.
Oh, really?
And it's a completely different take on Busted Stuff, but it's cool. And it's like, if the rest of the album is a different takeoff of the Lillywhite sessions like this, like that's something that I'm interested in hearing big time. And I could listen to that.
So I'm not. I have to admit, I'm not familiar with his stuff. Is it pretty high quality? Like, is it the musicianship? What's the word I want?
Oh yeah, this is not a
guy sitting on his bed in his room recording his cover. It's like a produced, like a high musicianship.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can maybe even get this in here a little bit. What do you think about that?
See if it plays.
See if I can. I don't know if I can do this. I'm gonna try to get it in here a little bit. There it is. Let's see if I can add an application, shall we? I'm gonna add an application. See if anybody can. Let's see. I'm gonna try to do it.
Got me all nice and nervous.
I'm gonna try to do this. Let's see what we got here. Apparently, they said that this guy's a little strange, and I'm just going to mute it there, and that'll be that. But they said that they thought it was going to be like a joke,
Yeah.
but if you listen to it, it's very serious. It's just a different take on it.
Same lyrics, different lyrics.
Same. It's a cover, but
Yeah.
it's very much in its own style. So
Interesting.
I'm
So that'd be
looking
cool.
forward to
Yeah,
it.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Little Lily White session. Can't wait till somebody takes the Batson sessions then and does the same.
I'm looking forward to. I think we'll do a little news article on it. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, since it's already out on YouTube and everything else. I'm not sure if that's okay. Is that okay?
Oh,
Can we
geez.
report on something that's happened? I'm just making sure that's okay and doesn't. Uh-oh. Idiot.
Oops.
Anyway, I think that should probably just about do it for the Batson session episode, right?
Yeah, I think there's the story is just starting, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes from this. It can go a lot of different directions.
That's a good point.
And will any of these songs be played live? Fall tour and during the fall tour?
No.
Does
this make it? No, somebody had said that. Does this make it more likely? Is a band going to capitulate and play a song? And I think this makes it more likely that they'll never see the light of day.
like, yep, yeah, you're never gonna get you're not gonna get a live performance of these now.
I think so.
I hope that's not the case. I hope
not.
I mean, I think if other band members liked any of these, and they have they have a better shot now of saying, hey, we should play that live, and it's already out there. So I don't know. I feel like maybe it's still unlikely, but I think it's more likely than it was before they released.
It's on their mind, where before it wasn't.
Right.
If any, to your point, absolutely. I mean, hey, maybe they're like, you know what? I did like that song.
Yeah.
Let's give it a rip.
Yeah. Carter and Stefan are like really wanted to play a song. Dave was like, nah, we're not going to play that live. We're going to maybe save that for an album or something. I think now Dave and Stefan say, oh, you know what? It's freaking out there and people are hearing it. Let's give it a shot.
Or maybe because they listen to the podcast, which has been proven by so many weird coincidences on tour, Joe. Maybe they just say, you know what? They're right. Let's get in the studio. Let's kick one out. We'll just drop an album tomorrow.
It doesn't need to be an album it only needs to be an album if you have something that needs to be said in 15 songs and there's something across all 15 that needs to be said.
Albums do not need to be conceptual though either.
Not to be conceptual, but there's no reason you need to release music as an album. You can release music.
I guess I'm wanting an album because I know if we get one release, it's going to be 6 years before we get another thing from the studio. So I want as many as possible into that one release, unless they're committing to releasing something regularly. And you know what? As much as I like live tracks and I think they should keep doing that, I've got no anticipation for any live releases.
I just think the next album, if there is one or whatever, is 6 years away. I'm not happy to wait for that. Let's try to do a new way of distribution. Let's scrap the album. Let's just start releasing tracks if that means that we don't have to wait 6 years.
Oh, right. And I don't know what kind of contract they have with RCA either, right?
I think, we heard things about the how many albums were left on the contract.
I can't imagine they haven't satisfied that.
Yeah, it was back when I think the final thing was when they released that best of album.
Yeah.
Remember when they did the best of album?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was what I had heard was the last album that was part of that contract. The contract said they had to release a best of. I think they probably have done new contracts, and I think it's always been one at a time. I don't think they signed up for anything more than one at a time, and they pretty much have all the negotiating power.
Well, I was going to say, what behooves them to sign anything?
Right. Exactly.
Hey, I'm Dave Matthews Band. We have an album with a producer who wants to distribute this.
Right. Exactly. So I have low feelings that they're anyway under a contract to produce a certain number of albums. Those days are gone of signing up for multiple albums, I think.
Right.
So there's.
Well, you're right. I'll take it. I'll take new music.
Contractual vision. Yeah.
But here's the thing: they don't make that. So the number one albums thing, I think. At this point, they want to keep that going. If they do release albums, which if they keep putting an album out every 6 years, they'll certainly achieve that.
Well, I mean, some of the bands are putting out number ones, and they're going to be putting them out at a greater pace than 6 years.
Oh, yeah, they might get past. Yeah, but on top, okay, so let's scratch that. What do you got to lose? If anything, you maintain your relevance by continuously releasing new music. Other than that, you give people an opportunity to forget about you every 4 or 5 years.
Right. Yeah. People
I'm on
listen
board
to
with this,
individual
Joe.
songs on streaming services, and the streaming services give you new music every week, either new releases or new suggestions.
Oh, you're onto
You
something.
you could just release songs as part of that, and that's how people are going to listen to it anyway. They're going to listen to one song every couple
I
months
don't know
because
if
of the
I've ever
streaming.
agreed with you this strongly. We're not usually that, all that divergent, but
No, we're not that divergent, but scrap albums. We're not getting any of the good stuff that you would
you
normally
hear
get
that,
from an
everybody?
album.
Joe loves Come Tomorrow so much, he wants to stop the concept of albums. Thank you, Joe.
The part I don't like about Come Tomorrow is how long it took. That's the part I like. I like the music. I wish we could. We don't have to wait for the set to be done.
Somebody earlier when we were talking about the worst song, somebody put up "Where Are You Going?"
Where are you going?
I would say it's a probably good at least on a released album is pretty much up there.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's pretty. It's pretty like basic.
Hunger.
Hunger.
I don't mind it either.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
No, no.
I'm just thinking like bad, like bad,
like Can't Stop. Well, so
old can't stop. I thought was bad. It was it took forever.
Brit
Can't stop.
Britt Pragues from the live chat says the rumor on the webs are that we might see that third disc anytime now. I've been told this is impossible because news was reported. So I don't know. I don't see how that would line up, Britt, but I appreciate
You're really driving this home. If you're tuning in just now, refer to earlier in the pod where we discussed the third disc and all that stuff. Ugh, we're not going to let it die.
No.
It'll be interesting. There'll be more to where I started with all this is the story is just starting. There's going to be more. We probably hit it as much as we can for right now.
Yeah.
And we will definitely be revisiting this as the story progresses.
Yeah. And I guess for now, then, thanks for listening. We've got a lot to talk about, folks. We have the fall tour stuff and any kind of plans. I know Joe's trying to put something together, at least like a little meetup, if not a party. I'm not going to be there because why would I? We got the Gorge to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to probably put another episode out here really shortly. For those who are watching us on Facebook or those listening, definitely do subscribe to, not Facebook, YouTube Live. Definitely do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Doesn't cost anything. Just go ahead and subscribe, and that way you can notify yourself if we do go live. I've noticed we got a lot more viewers today, which was cool. I think Twitter blocks, it doesn't show YouTube links. I don't think they advertise them. It always notices whenever all of our posts get a lot of likes and retweets, except the ones where we mention YouTube. I think we get shadow banned or whatever.
Yeah.
We update DMB Hub with fall dates?
Yeah.
I'm going to put Cindy. I put that on Joe's inbox.
I was actually thinking about doing that. We wanted to actually get the podcast out and a couple other things that are being worked on. So I think now we're at the point that they can do that. We really just needed a podcast. It's been forever. But I would say for all those that aren't using YouTube, that are listening to us through the traditional podcast methods, thank you for that. Keep doing that. I know that we actually, to this date, still get tons more listening just to the audio.
Yeah.
And subscribe to us on there, or like us, or share us on your audio app, or give us a thumbs up or a rating. We do appreciate that. Helps new fans find the discussion.
Yeah. And if definitely give us that rating on iTunes, if you would be so kind. Joe's got to be able to pad the resume with all these ratings, 5-star. Yeah.
I wake up every morning and I check how many.
I know you do. Anyway, yeah, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Stephen, Peter, Cindy, Britt, James, everybody out there, Larry Boa, B-Rad. Always good to see y'all. Thanks for listening, and we will be back very shortly. Take care, y'all.
See ya.
Okay. I'm going to stop broadcasting. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.